Okay, so we're going to do a full first round mock, and we've got it split up 3 ways. Cheyenne, you're going to be taking number 1. I'll be at number 2, and Dustin at number 3. And it won't be a snake draft. We'll just be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I think it's pretty easy for what you and I are going to do, Cheyenne. I think the real action is really going to get with Dustin at number 3. But we go ahead and shoot off information on the pick anyway. So go ahead and start out, man.
Yeah, I mean, Cam Ward, we're obviously, putting him number 1 to the Titans. I mean, I know that they teased a generational talent that could be Travis Hunter, that could be Abdul Carter, but to them, for all they know, Cam Ward could be the generational talent that, not saying that he is, but, that's how they're looking at it. So I think it's pretty obvious Cam Ward goes number 1 overall.
Yeah. You have, for a team that's been struggling with Will Levis, you have to go quarterback. You have to get someone in there.
Yeah, and I have a feeling day 3 they'll trade Will Levis for a day 3 draft pick or something like that, more than likely.
Yeah, probably like a 6 or 7, something like that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my number 2 pick with the Browns is pretty simple. The generational type player, it's pretty much just like Cam Ward with Tennessee. It's pretty much already confirmed. So Travis Hunter is going to be playing both sides of the field. He's probably going to be playing more receiver than cornerback just because they have Denzel Ward, so he's not going to have to be forced on the defense as much. So, you can always just have other guys on the field while he's resting a little bit and having him play probably more in the slot anyway. So, yeah, pretty simple. Travis Hunter for Cleveland.
It's still pretty simple for me at 3. Abdul Carter's there. I think the Giants take him. Wink Martindale likes a blitz-heavy scheme. So bringing in a good pass rusher to get to the quarterback is probably the route they'll go. Giants have always been heavy on drafting defensive line. So it's almost a perfect fit for that to drop like that. So with the Giants' third pick, the Giants are going to take Abdul Carter.
Totally agree. That's the only way to go for them. Like, unless it's a trade down situation, that's pretty much all I could legitimately see. I don't expect them to take anyone else but him unless they're trading down.
Yeah. Yeah, this is where it kind of gets interesting with New England. I think they're going offensive linemen. Who they're going with, is another story. I'm gonna go with. I think I'm gonna go with Will Campbell here for the Patriots. There's a glaring need at left tackle. I don't even know if they have a left tackle on their roster right now.
It's somebody. I forgot his name. Let me look it up real quick. It is Vidarian Lowe.
So, So as I said, nobody on the roster, and it just makes sense. Like, Will Campbell just seems like a guy that would want to work with somebody like Mike Vrabel, and probably could get the most out of him from a guy like Mike Vrabel. So
the only thing that I have to say about this is we do know that Mike Vrabel is an Ohio State guy. So would he choose the other tackle just because? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Never mind. He's from LSU. Never mind. I had a brain fart for a second. Never mind. Totally redundant on that.
All good.
But no, I agree. I think Will Campbell, with him, it's going to be let him play tackle until he fails and then move him inside. That to me, the not really the arm length, but the wingspan, the 1% first percentile wingspan, which is god awful or 0% really. Like it's the lowest that's ever been recorded since they started recording the wingspan for an OL. So, I mean, to me, he's probably going to end up being a guard at some point. But I mean, why not let him try to be your tackle? He was really good in college, so just let him try at least a year or two before you say, you know what? Yeah, we're gonna have to keep you inside.
Yeah, well, but that would also solve long-term, problem inside, because I know they have they signed like Morgan Moses
for right tackle. Yeah.
Garrett Bradbury I know is there at center,
and then they drafted Layden Robinson last year, who actually did really well, and then Michael Onwenu, which
Michigan guy.
Him. He's kind of he can play all over the line, but for some reason, he always ends up back on the interior. Yeah. So I mean, he could end up being someone that they just move on from.
That's fair. Yeah.
So number 5, I have Jacksonville, and this one, it seems pretty easy just because of who's available, but at the same time, they really don't have a big need on their defensive line. They've actually got a few good players there that they have taken over the last couple of years with Mason Smith and Devon Hamilton. So I mean, they actually have some good interior guys, and then their defensive ends, Josh Hines Allen and Trevon Walker. So defensive line really isn't that big of a need, but also when you have a guy like this, all you have to worry about now is rotation. So you take Mason Graham and you have him starting, and then you can just have a good rotation of 3 interior guys that you can just swap in and out. Kind of like with the Giants with their edge rushers. After they draft Abdul Carter, they'll have Kayvon Thibodeau for at least one more season of being a rotation guy for them. So to me, it's pretty simple to add this just because he is the best guy available. And defensive line, as the Eagles have shown, draft them. Just constantly draft them.
Yeah, depth is good, especially of course, most people who, whether they watch this or look at this or not, I'm a Michigan guy, so yeah, a little homerism here with the Mason Graham pick, but the reason why I think it's such a perfect fit is for what you said. For one, he is a great interior pass rusher and a great interior run defender. Mm-hmm. And yes, they have great pressure from the outside, but having that inside pressure with somebody like him could make them a really good defensive line, at the end of the day. So I think it's a good pick. It's been a pretty obvious pick. I think you can probably put this in chalk at this point. I really don't think that they're going to pick anybody else. I think it is Mason Graham.
Yeah, the only thing that I would say is they're probably another one of those teams that could likely trade down. Kind of like New York. They don't technically need it, so they could trade back and end up getting another Michigan guy, Will Johnson, or if they like Jahdae Barron, they could end up taking him too. So I think cornerback is probably the bigger need.
Right.
But where they're at, I would not take a corner. So at where they're at, it's a perfect spot for what they should do.
Yeah.
Number 6.
So, I mean, I think I'm going to go with the next best player on the board. Probably one of the top 2 or 3 players that have been on the board for the Raiders. It's hard to skip over this guy. And like he said, this is tackle football. And if you can't tackle the guy, draft him. So with the Raiders, I'm gonna take Ashton Genty.
I know that hurt. I know that hurt you.
I want him to go to the Cowboys so bad. I hope they trade up to number 5.
Let me move that in here. There we go. Yeah. No, it's the obvious pick for them. Carroll is a big running back guy, and they only signed Mostert and they lost everyone else, so they really don't have anyone. So running back is definitely a big need, and then you have someone like him. I've made 2 separate posts. One post saying he shouldn't be taken in the top 12. And then after more information, I was like, oh, yeah, I need to take that back. I need to retract that, put another post out and say, yeah, he does. So, yeah. he's
He's that
he's a
dude.
demon. He's one of those guys you have to have.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they have a need at corner, and I mean, there's two really good corners right there. But I don't think at 5 that's where they need to be
6.
taken. So, or at 6. I mean, I don't think at 6 that's where they need to be taken.
Yeah.
And I mean, receiver's another need, and they could get T-Mac, but I mean, I just think you take the best player that's on the board right there. If you got that many needs, then it's Ashton Genty.
And to go on top of that, they do have a pretty big need for a receiver because their receiver room, other than Brock Bowers at tight end, their receiver room is pretty. I would probably rank it at like 31st or 32nd. So, receiver is something that they should definitely look at getting. So I 100% back that receiver thing. But the crazy thing about the cornerbacks is Will Johnson, because of his 40 or lack of a 40, and then his not so good times that he did on some of his other stuff. There have been rumors where he might end up being in the 20s just because of that. Just because they're predicting him to run in the mid to late 4.5s. So, he's going to be zone specific for a zone defense. Like, he's not going to be able to play on a team that's very man heavy. So it's going to limit who's going to look at him just because of his speed and the fact that that's like his style. And then Barron, from what I've read, most teams view him as a nickel. Like, they don't really view him as an outside corner. But there are some teams that do, just don't know which ones.
Fair enough. The Jets are kind of one of those other ones where they probably will trade. I could see them. You've got essentially a whole new culture there going to the Jets. I could see them loading up on draft picks, similar to like how the Lions were able to, acquire some draft picks and use them on really good players that have, really produced for the team. I have a feeling somebody like Aaron Glenn could do that, but since we're not doing any trades in this one, Armand Mimbo is my pick here. I think the Jets' offensive line there's holes. Let's just put it that way. I originally had in my own mock simulator, I had Mimbo going to New England actually, and then I decided against that and put Will Campbell there instead. So I think he could go either place, honestly. But I think it makes more sense with the Jets if they're going to stay at that draft pick.
Yeah. So I'll say this: everything that I read on Mimbo is they pretty much think that he's going to be a right tackle. They don't believe he has that movement to be able to go to left tackle because he has a different step that makes him better suited to stay on the right side.
Well, they may even
That's the only reason why I have Will Campbell going to New England is I know that he's at least going to stay at left tackle for them, and Mimbo would have to go to left tackle and try to learn. And it kind of seems like most people feel like he would be better off just staying on the right side.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
And then the Jets brought in Chukwuma Okorafor, formerly of the New England Patriots, and he wasn't good last year. So Jets definitely need to put someone on that right side to protect Justin Fields. Or if they end up drafting another quarterback, who knows?
Second round.
All right. I mean, it's very likely. So I have Carolina, and I think Jalen Walker, despite his height at 6'1", they're still going to look at him as an edge rusher because the game is evolving. So, like, quarterbacks are smaller now. You can almost go, I get that he's only 6'1", but look what he did, and you got to bypass that and ignore it because he's one of the best edge rushers aside from Abdul Carter in this class. Even though he was more of inside off-ball linebacker, like he did a lot on the edge and did it really well. And it's hard to do that at a school where you're just loaded up with talent. Like you just got to stick him somewhere just because there's so much talent.
I know we're a little off topic here, but who do you think's going to end up being the better rusher, him or his teammate?
Oh, him.
You think so?
Yeah. Mainly because Michael Williams to me he's essentially like Tank Lawrence or Isaiah McGuire. He's more of a guy that's going to rush the quarterback. He might get about 4 or 5 sacks this season, but he's going to be a lot better as a run defender. So he's going to be the same thing that Tank Lawrence was. Like, he's going to create pressure, but he's never really going to get to the quarterback. He's just better at stopping the run on the edge. And then Walker is the opposite, where he's probably going to be a high volume sack guy. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if I'm not going to say that he would be like TJ Watt, but that's the type of player that I expect him to be. He's probably going to get like 12 sacks, maybe. Like, I don't expect him to get 15 plus, but I think that's the type of player that you're going to get with Jalen Walker, which is you're not going to get the run stops that Michael Williams is going to do. All right. You are up, Dustin, at number 9.
All right, with number 9, I got the New Orleans Saints, and they have a lot of needs. One of them is the next quarterback, wide receiver, cornerback, offensive line. I mean, could almost go anywhere with this pick and not get it wrong for this team.
Yeah, they're in the perfect spot to take receiver or one of the cornerbacks or a quarterback. Like, they're in the perfect spot to start the run.
So I think with the way contracts are set up and Carr being towards the end of his contract, I think they go quarterback here. And, you're going to take the top guy left on the board. And, the top guy right now, I'm going to take Shedeur Sanders.
Ooh. That's not my top guy.
Is it Dart?
That's not my top guy either.
Dart, y'all like Dart better? I just think Shedeur is going to be above him on most teams.
New Orleans likes Dart better.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I haven't heard that.
They've done a lot of work on. They've done a lot of work on all the quarterbacks, but it just seems like Dart would fit better with Kellen Moore's offense. Like, I don't think Shedeur would fit in Kellen Moore's offense.
And I would also, look, I'm not a hater, man, but I would go as far to say if it wasn't for his last name, he's a day 2 pick.
Mm-hmm.
He's great in the spread, and there's a lot of quarterbacks that are great in like a college spread like that. He played in the Big 12, which, all the teams that were even meaningful in the Big 12 have left outside of Oklahoma State, and they're a dumpster fire as it is. So
yeah.
It just, like 13 wins in 2 years, like
but they're retiring his number. Cheyenne.
Yeah, retiring is not. I think I have, and I've told you this before, Mike. I believe that when he has to face some sort of adversity, when things do not go his way, I guess the way I'm looking at it is, do teams draft him? Or do they not draft him, rather, because of who his dad is? Because they see how, I guess, how fiercely he is on defending his son against the media and against everybody else. How does that translate when he goes to another team and say he loses a starting quarterback job, or he goes through a losing streak and he's just getting hammered in the media? Like, how does his dad handle that? That's my only thing that I have like a weird.
How does he handle that?
Well, how does he handle that too? Yeah, because he's been always shielded from, from that. And I just don't have confidence that he's going to be able to do that. And New Orleans isn't like a ready now team. Like, he's going there. He's gonna
he's going there to look like he played in Colorado.
Yeah,
he's going to get sacked a lot.
Yeah.
Because that offensive line is trash.
Yeah, I would agree. Well, I guess it is my pick. Sorry.
It is. You're number 10 with Chicago.
So I'm actually going an interesting pick here, because this is where it gets interesting for me. I'm actually going to pick a receiver here for Chicago.
You do know that he likes to run a lot of 12 personnel, right?
You didn't let me finish what I was
Oh,
going to
okay,
say.
my bad.
Who happens to play the tight end spot?
Oh,
I was just trying to.
where's
Where's
some crow? I need to eat some crow real quick.
So I have Tyler Warren here. After you and I talked last time, I'm like, you know what? I was like, it would be a really good idea to have somebody like Tyler Warren, who you could line him inside or outside, however you want to line him up. I mean, he can be lined up anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I mean, they do have Komet there, but Komet isn't going to be like a game. He's not a game-changing tight end. He is a good
He's a good tight end, but he's not great.
He's a good 50, 60 catch a season tight end that's going to get you some first downs and maybe a few touchdowns. But he's not a guy that's going to stretch the field. He's not a guy that's going to be a true mismatch against defenders. And someone like Tyler Warren can be. It's a luxury pick for the Bears. I think the Bears, if they really needed to draft, they need to draft on the defensive side. But I'm looking at Warren and I'm just like, man, like if he's still there, I don't know how you don't take the chance on him with him being a 100-plus catch guy. You know, I mean, he caught the ball. You know this. You've done plenty of research on him, I'm sure. He's caught the ball in every way possible. He's caught the ball as a running back, as a tight end, as a receiver, as an H-back, as a fullback. Like, he's done it all. So that type of flexibility and, like, just Swiss Army knife type, skill set is invaluable. And I think he could be a huge, huge, huge help. So Caleb Williams doesn't have a sophomore slide, basically. So,
yeah. Like you said, it's a luxury pick because in free agency, they pretty much loaded up on all their weaknesses. Like, this is whatever they want right now.
Yeah.
Like, if they want to get a third receiver, they can get an actual third receiver. Someone to run the slot because they got two big guys that can stay outside. They don't need that. Or, like, he loves to run 12 personnel a lot. So, boom, tight end that's going to have two tight ends. And, like, that's a double safety net for Caleb now. So you don't have to worry about him too much, especially after they loaded up the offensive line. Now, there are some questions about Braxton Jones, but when he's healthy, he's not bad. So, like, if they're going to address it, I would probably address it in round 2 because you don't really need it. He's fine. So, like, Tyler Warren to me is it's the best that you could do. Unless you just want to get another guy on defense that's going to get at the quarterback, even though you've kind of addressed it pretty much. Like you could, like we said earlier, like you could never go wrong with too many edge rushers or too much defense getting to the quarterback. Like you can't go wrong with it. But sometimes you just got to help at your quarterback as much as you can.
Well,
especially when you got a young one.
Well, and I think Komet's probably only there another year or so anyways before.
I think he just got a contract extension until I think they gave it to him last year.
I thought it was through 27, maybe 26.
So, through 27.
Yeah.
So he's got a couple years, which I'd have to look at the contract. It might be a contract that they can easily just get out of.
Yeah.
And trade him and, have less dead cap than what he's actually worth.
I think they'll do something like the Raiders did with what's his name, the Notre Dame Michael Mayer. Yeah. I mean, they'll be able to get more.
He's on the trade block too, so.
Yeah. I just have a feeling that that's just something that's going to happen, especially if Tyler Warren shows out. I don't know if he's going to do what Brock Bowers did last year, but I think that it's entirely possible that he could do what Brock Bowers did this past year.
Yeah.
He's a volume guy, and that's exactly what Brock Bowers was. Brock Bowers was volume. So,
and you really don't have to use him as a volume guy because you've got Roma Dunze on one side and DJ Moore on the other. Like, so he may not have like the volume close to what Bowers did since it didn't have anything else.
Yeah.
But he's going to be a guy that's almost as dependable as Bowers was for the Raiders. Like, I think he'd probably be closer to maybe more of what Andrews is to the Ravens.
Yeah, I could see that.
Even though he's on the trade block too. You got Isaiah Likely. You can get rid of him. Okay, so I got the 49ers next. And the reason why I want to take Samar Stewart for the 49ers is because they already have Bosa on one side. Now, a lot of mock drafts and a lot of 49ers fans that I've had conversations with, they want an offensive lineman. And basically because Colton McKivitz at right tackle is terrible. So they really want someone to take over that spot. And I made the argument. I was like, man, have you like looked at what they have on the defensive line? And actually their whole front seven on defense. And they went and looked and they were like, yeah, I think we need defense. I'm like, yeah, I don't have, other than Bosa, like, you really don't have much. Like, your defensive tackles are terrible. Your other defensive end is terrible. Your edge rushers are terrible. Like, you got a good middle linebacker, but you got a defensive end and a middle linebacker, and that's all you have. I was like, you have to go defense in this heavy class. And so with Samar Stewart, you don't have to worry about him being the DE1 when you've got Bosa on the other side. Now you have a guy who has all this athleticism, but hasn't put it together yet, next to playing opposite of a guy who can mentor him and show him how to get there to that next level. Like, if Samar Stewart can find that next level, he will be the stud of this class. Like, he's got the athleticism. He can get to the quarterback. Like, his pressure on quarterbacks is outrageous. It's like 19%. Like, he can get there. It's just he doesn't know what to do once he gets there. And that's his only problem. Playing with Nick Bosa, I feel like he could figure that out. Like, that might be what actually turns him on, and he becomes a nightmare. And then you have Samar Stewart on one side and Nick Bosa on the other, just wreaking havoc on people. So I really feel like he's going to be, I wouldn't call him a sleeper just because he's fairly mocked in the first round. There's just a wide margin of where he goes. He could go anywhere from 8 to 27. Like, we just don't know, just because the production is not there at all. But the athleticism is scary if he can just put it together. So I think the pairing of him with the 49ers on the opposite of Bosa could potentially open something up for him to where he ends up being the star of this class on defense.
Yeah, I if he was still there, I might have taken him here with this pick because Dallas could use another edge rusher opposite Micah, and like all the stuff you said.
I got Marshawn Newland.
I like all the stuff you said about he could learn from another great pass rusher, and why not the best in the game right now. But since you took him, Cowboys are another team that have a few needs. But getting Dak some help is high priority. The running back that I want's gone. Pray that doesn't happen in the real draft, but he's gone. I like T-Mac. I think they need a number 2 wide receiver, and I know they could probably use someone in the slot, but I would rather take T-Mac and put him on the opposite side of CD and move CD around throughout the offense.
Because, CD can play the slot too. So
exactly. CD plays well in the slot. Actually, I think he gets open better in the slot.
So we're going Chet with the Cowboys.
Yeah.
I'm going T-Mac.
I like that big Dustin. I personally would have done Matthew Golden there. You did Matthew Golden. I didn't know that. I would have done only because of what you were just mentioning, right? Just, you already have kind of a big bodied receiver with CD, and McMillan, I think, could work in the Dallas offense. You guys are going to be pretty heavy on the throwing because you don't have a running back. They
got Javonte Williams.
You don't have a running back. So
listen, just because your butt hurt, he didn't do great in Denver. He had some good carries there.
It was his injuries that caused him to drop.
Yeah, and he's still a great pass catcher. You guys will be great on that side. He's a really good pass catcher. He just sucks at running.
By the way, the Cowboys do have an ex receiver in Jalen Tolbert and Jonathan Mingo that the Cowboys gave a 4th round pick for last year.
And which was a terrible pick, by the way.
I think both of those guys are not even close to being in the conversation of starting on any playoff team.
No, they wouldn't be.
Yeah.
This is when I said the Raiders are like 32nd to 31st, they're right there in league with Dallas. Dallas is only ahead because they have a stud in CeeDee Lamb.
And I just think that, and like I said, you can move CD into the slot. You can motion him to the slot. There's all kinds of things you can do with CD that you need another big body receiver like T-Mac rather than getting a slot that takes up that spot that you can motion CD to. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I think an outside guy like T-Mac, you know, an X receiver just to be able to get open down the field, big body, you know. So that's why I picked him.
I just worry because it's not really Dak's game, and he's not really good at like throwing people open.
No.
Like he's been real good about throwing it to guys that are open. Like, and I mean, he can still throw them open sometimes. Like I'm just saying, like for the most part, like you're never really going to see him constantly throwing guys open. It's more of them getting open or the play manufacturing someone
And
open.
we've seen that with 88. I mean, Dez when we've seen that with Dez back in the day.
And that's what
Dez
I'm
was
afraid
not-
of with T-Mac.
Dez was not a spot guy. He was a I'm going to get open. You're going to get it to me where I'm at guy. That was great for Romo, not for Dak. Dak's a timing guy, and he needs you to run the right route and be in the right spot.
Yeah.
And that's why he worked so well with Amari Cooper. But you know, we traded him for. No, I'm not even going there.
It was a big contract. No one was going to give much for him. Like it was one of those just bad things. It was a really big contract for a guy that had just come off of multiple seasons of being injured, and no one was going to give a lot for him. And we finally found one team that was like, "Hey, we'll give you this." And we're like, "Good, like we can clean our stuff out." And then because we gave a bad contract to a running back, like it was a bad thing. Like I get why people are upset about it, but the details matter in it. And even though he played healthy in Cleveland, you know, there were times where he still went out of multiple games. Like he may have played almost all of them, but like I'd have to go and look, but I would bet that his snap counts are probably in the 60s or 70s, even in Cleveland. And that was the problem was he might have played, but he wasn't playing the whole game.
Yeah. Yeah. Miami's an interesting pick. So I really wanted to go safety here, but I don't think that that's what they're going to do. I think that timeout Tua needs to I just coined that, by the way. Timeout Tua. Every time he gets hit, he goes in the timeout for a little while. I think they have to invest in the line. The only player I can see lineman-wise that's really valued at this pick is probably going to be Mike's team, Kelvin Banks. It's probably makes sense to draft him here.
He's one that I've had there.
Yeah, I think that they've got holes. I think they have a pretty big hole at safety too. That was the only reason why. Because they
signed Ifeatu Melifonwu to a 1-year deal at free safety, and then at strong safety they signed Ashton Davis to a 1-year deal. So
yeah,
they've got some guys, but they can draft someone to replace them.
Maybe a second rounder. You know, I thought South Carolina's safety here, or
Maury.
Yeah, or even like, if he's already off the board for some reason, even like Malachi or somebody like that. But I even think that he's too early.
Don't forget, they are trying to trade Jalen Ramsey.
So Will Johnson could be a pick there. I think their priority right now is to just find a way to protect their quarterback, basically, so he doesn't have to retire next year. So I'm looking at it from that standpoint. Yeah. I think secondary makes more like sense from the standpoint of need, but I think for insurance, I think you've got to pick a lineman here. So yeah, Banks. I've got Kelvin Banks going there. So
yeah, Yeah, he's one. He's one that I had there. I think in my last 2 mocks, actually, I do have it changed right now to Will Johnson in my current possible final mock. Uh, so that is just, and I changed that because of the whole Jalen Ramsey situation. That kind of made me go, well, I mean, they got Cam Smith and Storm Duck. Those are their cornerbacks.
I'm curious what
Storm
they could
Duck?
even- Yeah,
Storm
I know,
Duck.
I know. I heard that too.
I mean, that's a nice name, I guess.
Yeah.
What do you even think that Jalen Ramsey could be traded for at this point? I mean, he's on the wrong side of 30 now, right? I mean,
Yeah,
What's his contract
I would-
situation like?
big.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, he's not getting
It's-
traded.
I
'Cause
would
he's signed an
probably
extension
say I don't know, just because of his age and how big his contract is. It's kind of a Amari Cooper situation where you're trying to get rid of it because it's so big. So I don't know. I would probably say maybe a third, because I mean he's still a star cornerback.
A third?
Yeah, like I would say a third or fourth.
even though he's over 30 now.
Now, I think actually let me say that I think you can get a third if you can talk Miami into keeping some of the money,
Oh, there
so
you go.
that less of it is on the new team.
Yeah,
They could probably get a little bit more if they say, "Hey, we'll hold on to this much if you give us a third instead of a fourth or fifth." Like
Yeah.
I think that in that way they could probably get a third, but more than likely, yeah, I would say fourth or fifth, like mid to late fourth to probably high fifth.
If it's a full contract, no, they're not taking on any of it. It's got to be a fifth. There's no way.
So
I
let
think
me
there's 3 years left on his deal.
2028.
Yeah. So, and he's making what, 15 mil a year, north of
I
15.
believe this year is 25. I think.
God damn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why it's difficult this year. Is it's so big, but I think the salary cap hit is actually less than the cap hit, so
Yeah.
it's in their favor to get rid of him, so they can save some money. I don't know where they're going to put the money into what player, because they really don't have anyone. They're about like the Saints right now. Like they just have a lot of holes that they're at a point where they need to rebuild, but they can't because they have a whole lot of overpriced players.
So we could see a day 2 or a day 3 trade possibly involving him. Late day 2, of course. Like
Yeah.
possibly.
I would think so.
If people are wanting to be a little overzealous and pay, because of the name, which there's plenty of people out there who will. I mean,
Yeah.
look, Cowboys got suckered into giving a 4th round pick for a dude that may not even make the team long term.
I mean, they did the same thing for a quarterback that didn't even play.
What are you covering the camera for? It's not like she was naked or something, dude. Like, calm down.
All right. So let's get back on top of this. All right. At pick 14, I have the Colts. And yeah, you got one tight end that's already off the board. And I don't know. I guess one Colts fan I saw questioning the pick for any tight end whatsoever. And it was my only argument was, well, they fell in love with Bowers last year. Like, so they obviously really want a tight end. But he was like, yeah, but we have these other areas that we need to address. I was like, yeah, but they loved Bowers last year. And then you look at their 30 visits and who they looked at the combine and everything, and they didn't really look at anybody. So you couldn't get any kind of answer. So I was like, I just got to go with the safe pick that I feel is what they should do. But I have a feeling that they're not going to do it, to be honest. But I'm still going to go with it. Tyler Warren is off the board, so I'm going with Colston Loveland. You gotta give the quarterback there. Daniel Jones. He's going to need somebody to throw to and catch the ball. The receivers there just for some reason can't hold on to it. So, Daniel Jones just he'll have somebody with Colston Loveland to catch the ball and do a lot of stuff afterwards. So, like to me, he's.
I can't believe we're talking about Daniel Jones as the starting quarterback for the Colts.
I said it on purpose, just
Yeah.
just throw some shade to Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, I was sitting there. I was like, I was like, are we already assuming that he's going to beat out Anthony Richardson? Like, do you know something I'm
I mean,
not
they-
aware of? Like,
Yes.
They brought him there for
Yes.
competition. Like,
I don't
okay.
think Anthony Richards I don't think Anthony Richardson is that good of a quarterback. I mean, Daniel Jones isn't great either, but I mean, I think he wins that spot. I mean, he can run, he can get the ball down the field. I mean,
he could pretty much do everything Anthony Richardson does. He's just
exactly.
not a large frame.
I think maybe I'm one in the few here, but I don't think Daniel Jones is really a bad quarterback if you put him in the
He's
right
not
system.
terrible.
I think he's going to be on the same track as Geno Smith and Sam Darnold. Like, he's going to get that second win where, they realize he's not terrible. Like, if we get him in the right offense, like, he's not bad.
No,
like,
he's not.
this.
Like, the receivers were not getting open in New York.
Mm-mm.
Like, there was no separation whatsoever.
None.
Yeah. Well,
And then he
I
had
think
terrible
I can
offensive
barely-
line.
can
Exactly.
barely even name
And
the
they took his running back. They let his running back go.
Yeah. Well, I can barely even name any of the receivers for New York, when he was actually there, like outside of Malik Neighbors, of course. But
They're all like
Well-
good. Malik Neighbors is good, but the rest are all like good number 3 receivers.
Yeah, it was Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard.
He had a few good seasons, but
I mean, they were okay.
They were okay. They were
8 to
okay.
9. I think he had 900 yards at the top of his career. I mean,
Darius Slayton did.
And then
He's had
who
a
else
few
was there?
800 yards.
Kadarius Toney.
Yeah. Which-
Yeah, they really. I mean, they try to give him a bunch of like receiver twos, kind of the way Green Bay has given Love a bunch of receiver twos.
Yeah.
And with an offensive line that couldn't block, you can't do much with receiver twos.
And-
there's
and
no
Bar-
separation.
and
And
Bar-
At least with Love, his line can block.
yeah,
And with the
well,
cornerbacks that the NFC East has, the
Yeah,
talent
yeah.
at cornerback the NFC East has, like it's you got to have separation. Got to have guys that can separate.
Yeah, Barkley wasn't healthy half the time in New York either. Like, it's not shocking to see that Barkley did so well in Philly with the line and everything that they have to run behind.
Yeah.
There was never a question about Barkley being talented. He just couldn't stay healthy. And you pair all that stuff up, and Daniel Jones just didn't really get a truly fair shake. And Brian Daboll, I don't even know how he still has his job.
Daboll is a good coach. They just didn't build a good team for him to coach.
Yeah, they don't
Like,
have a good.
he made Daniel Jones look good enough to where they gave him a second contract.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
All
All right,
sorry, I know
Dustin, number 15.
All right, so number 15, I guess for the Atlanta Falcons, the top 3 or 4 guys that are left, they could take any of them. I
Mhm.
mean, you got Will Johnson, Jahdae Barron, Mike Green, Jihad Campbell. They could take any of those guys, but I think nickel corner is something they could take.
Clark Phillips is their nickel corner.
Uh,
I mean, he's replaceable,
yeah,
but
I see a need
they were
here.
they
the
were
needs list.
last in pass rush last year.
Yeah,
Dead last.
We're giving
So-
you the bone here.
so Mike Green, Mike Green out of Marshall.
I was just trying to help you. Like, it wasn't a bad idea. It wasn't a bad idea, but
Yeah,
I was just letting you know they were
I like
really
Jahdae
bad.
Barron. I like Jahdae Barron as a player more than Mike Green. But I mean, y'all talked me into it as a need, for Mike Green for the pass rush.
I mean, hey, if
out
you
of
want to
Marshall.
take Barron, that's fine. That's totally your decision. I was just letting you know that their pass rush was bad. Like, their secondary isn't terrible. It's not great, but it's not terrible.
Well, your secondary is going to look bad if your pass rush shows.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, I'll go with Mike Green.
Okay. I wasn't trying to pressure you.
No, you're good. You're good. Y'all have done way more research than I have.
Yeah, Arizona, I think you could go 2 ways here. You could go corner, which I know is a definite need, or you could even go defensive line here.
Mhm.
I think it's one of the Michigan guys. I don't. If I was going to flip a coin, I'm going to tell you it's probably Will Johnson in this spot.
Oh.
I would have considered Kenneth Grant maybe at this spot on the interior, but I think Will Johnson. I know that they need corners. They need secondary help. I think Will Johnson. I would have selected likely any corner here. So even if Johnson was off the board, I would have selected Barron or someone else. It's clear that they need help.
Their corners are Sean Murphy Bunting, Starling Thomas V, and Garrett Williams.
So Murphy Bunting is okay, and when
he's above average.
But the other two guys, I don't even know who those guys are.
Garrett Williams is their slot corner. He's not terrible. He's not great, but he's not terrible. But Starling Thomas is like.
So it's clear they needed another outside corner. So Will Johnson here just makes the most sense. So
yeah. All right. So I'm gonna go Will Johnson here. So funny enough, Will Johnson was a guy that I had at this spot several times, but I have him going to the Dolphins, obviously because of Ramsey. But the one guy that I have at here, I don't have him taking nickel cornerback, which is something I did think about. I actually have them taking Derek Harmon. I think Derek Harmon is the best defensive tackle in the class. He's got some missed tackles, but the dude gets to the quarterback like crazy.
I honestly forgot about him because I think he could go even earlier.
Yeah.
So I just wasn't even thinking about that. Yeah, that was why I was going with Kenneth Grant, is because my assumption Harmon.
Well, they needed. Harmon, he could. This is something that I didn't know until I saw Dane's Beast, was that Harmon came into Oregon at 360 pounds as a 360-pound nose tackle. Now he's 313 pounds. So he can literally play all along the line. But when you said Kenneth Grant, I was like, okay, they do need a nose tackle. Like that's one area that they could improve on. So I think it's either way they go. If they feel like they should go with just a true nose tackle, like I think Kenneth Grant would be the guy. So I don't think you're wrong in any way. If I didn't have Will Johnson gone, I would have had Will Johnson there. Like, it's a solid pick because I had Derek Harmon at Miami. So I pretty much flipped them just because of the whole Ramsey situation. All right, let's see. We are at Cincinnati. Is that you, Dustin? Yeah, it's you.
No,
it's me. Oh, yeah, that's me. That's right. Okay. So Cincinnati at 17. Now I kind of want to take Derek Harmon just because he's available.
Good pick.
Huh?
That'd be a good pick.
Yeah. But I also kind of want to take Michael Williams.
Hendrickson's likely going to be gone. So,
let me see. Let me look at their line. So, they've been trying to trade him and Jermaine Pratt. So, off-ball linebackers, Jihad Campbell could also be a good pick here. Their defensive ends are Cam Sample and Miles Murphy, though.
I know.
And then their interior is Chris Jenkins and BJ Hill. Not terrible, not great, but serviceable compared to the other needs that they have at defensive end.
They overpaid for BJ Hill. I remember when he was like the big defensive tackle on the market.
And then they just re-signed him to a 3-year deal.
That's crazy. He wasn't that good. He didn't outplay his contract by any means. So interesting.
And then they also signed Tadaro Slatton at defensive tackle to a 2-year deal. So they put some stuff in the defensive tackle area. All right. So, I'm going to go ahead and stick with what I was going to do since they already got rid of one defensive end that retired, and now with Chris Hubbard, and now Trey Hendrickson is on the last year of his deal when he wants out and they're trying to trade him. I think the only obvious answer is to go defensive end, but it kind of seems like they just completely miss every time they take a defensive end. Miles Murphy is a miss. Even my own
the Cowboys and Michigan defensive lineman.
My own Texas Longhorn, Joseph Ozai, he's another miss for them at defensive end. So, I kind of don't want to take defensive end just because apparently, if they take a defensive end, he's not going to pan out.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is, but they got a new defensive coordinator, so hey, maybe it'll change this year. Okay, all right. With that said, With that said, I am going to take Michael Williams for Cincinnati.
Nice. Well, I have the Seattle Seahawks, and they have needs in the secondary. They have glaring needs on the offensive line, especially the interior. There are two guys sitting there. One is a higher prospect, Tyler Brooker out of Alabama, but I like the versatility of Gray's Abel. And for me, if I'm picking and I need center and guard, I'm going to take Gray's Abel because he can probably play both positions. So I'm taking Gray's Abel with the Seattle Seahawks pick.
Yeah, with Booker, my only issue with him is that his testing numbers were god awful. Like his RAS, I think, was like a 2 point something. Like it was terrible. Like he shouldn't have even tested. Like if he wouldn't have tested, he would probably be going in the top 15. But because he tested, he's probably not going until the second round. So I agree. I like Gray Zabel. I think he's a good pick for him.
Is that how you pronounce it, Zabel?
Huh? Zabel? Yeah.
Zabel? Oh, my bad.
You can pronounce it whatever way you want, man.
Yeah.
I might actually be wrong. It might be Zabel. I'd have to actually listen to it because I really haven't actually heard anyone talk about it.
I mean, who knows? We've pronounced Kelsey wrong for years. It's Kels.
I mean, but that was the announcers. They said Kelsey, so he just went with it. So we went with what everyone else said.
Yeah, here in Kansas City, all the local commercials still say Kelsey, like because he's in like so many. Like we have a big grocery chain here called Hy-Vee, and him and Patrick Mahomes are like the two spokespersons, and they're like Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes here for Hy-Vee. Like so, like they're still saying his name as Kelsey for some reason, which is weird because we're in Kansas City, right? So
yeah,
but so the Tampa one, so
Ryan Ramsey just announced his retirement.
Who did?
For the Saints. Ryan Ramsey.
Oh wow, he's good. Nice. He's a good player. So Tampa Bay, you know why he retired, right? Is because they probably got word that Shador was going to get drafted, and he was like, nah.
No, okay, yeah. So he didn't play last year because of his injuries.
Oh, okay.
And so I guess he just decided, you know what? Yeah, I might as well just hang it up. So yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. So the Tampa pick actually, I don't know. This may surprise you, may not. I think it's pretty obvious that it needs to be on the defensive side for Tampa. I think offensively they're okay. Mm-hmm. Linebacker kind of comes to mind for me. Like I keep putting Jihad Campbell here.
Oh, he's pretty much the consensus pick.
Yeah, like and I just have a hard time believing that if he's there, at number 19, that they're not going to take a chance on him. I think that he fits the mold perfectly for what Tampa looks for, right? Because he can do everything essentially in that. I mean, he is the number one, in my opinion, the number one true linebacker,
And he may not even be a true linebacker.
Yeah,
he's got some edge rusher to him.
Well, that's part of what I was getting at too, which was one of the reasons why I think it's kind of a perfect fit here because he can almost play that. Or be better at what Devin White was, doing like his first year or two where he was pass rushing and doing all of that. I think he has the opportunity to do that, but be better because Devin White now is, he's not that good. But
long gone, and then Levante David is basically on 1-year contracts every year until they find somebody to replace him.
I assume you had that in your mock as well, but yeah. Jihad Campbell just makes the most sense here. So,
yeah, it's like I said, it's pretty much the consensus pick. I really haven't seen them anyone put anyone else there. Now, there are times where I have taken Campbell prior to Tampa Bay drafting, so I've had to kind of think a little bit harder of who to put there, and I've gone with defensive line and even safety with Eamon Warry. So, like, those are ideas just in case Jihad is gone. but for the most part, it's pretty much Jahad Campbell.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to get a little bit tricky here because I'm actually going to go against what I have on my mock.
Oh, okay.
Spicy, sir. Spicy.
Yeah,
Go for
so
it.
my mock is technically I have Marion Hampton here, but I don't think this player should be slipping this far. So
Don't do
might
it.
as well go and help Bo Nix with some more pass catchers, you know. So Matthew Golden to the Denver Broncos.
I think that makes
That's-
Sean happy. He's happy.
That's what. Yeah. Well, your point. Well, I'm this way.
Yeah.
For some reason, you
On my screen, you're this way, sir.
Oh, yeah,
You're pointing
I'm
at
this
me,
way.
Dustin.
He's over here on my
There you go.
screen. No more
Yeah.
pointing. No more pointing. My bad.
I'll be honest. I love the receiver or tight end pick. Those were the two that I understand. We have Evan Ingram, but he's north of 30. We've signed him to only a couple of years. Like, you know, I would have went. You know, if Colston Loveland was still there, by some miracle Tyler Warren was still there, I would have just as easily picked them. I just, like you just said, Bo Nix just needs another weapon that can be consistent.
Yeah,
Men did come on towards the end of last year, but it took 12 games for him to really start showing out. And I don't know that consistency can go all through next year. He's a great special teams returner, yada, yada, yada. But they tried to force him into that number 2 receiver role, and he's just not a number 2. I don't even know if you consider him a number 3. So we need to get a true number 2 opposite of Cortland. Matthew, yeah, I love the Matthew Golden pick. Yeah. So
Yeah, good pick. Good pick. Well, I had. The
I know it was a
Steelers.
little spicy because I was like, Golden can't be going no further than this. Like, I got to take him here.
It's because the UT.
No, I think he's the
Connection.
number 1 receiver. So, like, I just can't see him dropping any further than that.
So I've got the Steelers, and the guy I took earlier for the Saints probably would go here if he slipped. I know a lot of people have him mocked there. They also have needs at corner, defensive line. Yeah, I mean, there's a defensive lineman that I don't think should have slipped this far either, in Kenneth Grant. So I'm going to take him for the Steelers.
The only thing I have to say about that is they have Keanu Neal, who's their nose tackle. He's not. I mean, not Keanu Neal. Keanu Benton. Sorry. He's not like great, but he's a good nose tackle.
Right.
So
I
It's
would
a good
take
pick,
Johnny
though.
Barron.
Like, it's a
I would
good
take
pick.
Barron. I would take Barron, but I think Kenneth Grant still being there is going to be very, very hard to miss.
yeah, you took my pick.
yeah, I was like, he's a perfect spot for Harbaugh. It's his
Yeah.
former guy.
So I'm gonna pick the next best one here. I think Walter Nolan likely could be the pick here.
Actually, Walter Nolan would have been a really good pick for Pittsburgh. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So but Dustin's gonna die on his hill. So let him do that. But yeah, Walter Nolan, I think, could be a good pick here too. I mean, to be honest with you, they need people. You know,
Mhm.
You could have gone edge here if you wanted to, but I don't think there's anyone edge related here that it warrants it at this point, right?
Let's see. Where we got the Chargers. Yeah, actually, no, I don't think they need edge because, maybe someone to end up taking Khalil Mack's spot eventually, but
It's like
Tuli Tuipulotu, like he's good. Like he's pretty good. So
I forgot about him. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, Walter Nolan. I think either way, I think they're going some kind of defensive line tackle type position here. It would have made more sense for Kenneth Grant, but Dustin stole my thunder, so that's fine.
Now I will say this, so the only issue with Nolan, and the reason why I feel like it fits good with Pittsburgh, is they like the type of like troubled guys that slip.
Yeah.
Like he's a really good defensive lineman, but he's got some off-field issues that have been reported, even though some reporters have said that everything they've heard about him from coaches and everything. They came out clean. So there are the rumors out there, but there's also some people saying that, hey, we're not getting that feedback from coaches.
I'm sure Harbaugh can fix that as well.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think, you see the immediate turnaround he had in LA. Like,
yeah, it's what happens when you get out of Texas A&M.
Yeah,
Shamar Stewart, telling you.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so this lines up perfectly for my Green Bay Packers pick because this is exactly who I have them taking anyway. They're trying to get rid of Jair Alexander, so they have a need at corner. Even if they keep Jair Alexander, they do have a need at nickel as well. So whether they like Jahdae Barron inside or outside, they have a need in that area. So my pick is Jahdae Barron for the Green Bay Packers, and he fits their RAS profile, Gutekunst's RAS profile also, with the above a 9.0 RAS. But okay.
Sorry, I'm doing research on my next position that I want.
Your Minnesota Vikings.
My Minnesota Vikings. They need secondary. They need safety bad. That's where I'm looking.
Mm-hmm.
Malachi Stark's RAS score was like a 5.6. They say he's got high football IQ. He's not a great tackler. So I think Minnesota values tackling at the safety. They've always had a great tackler at safety. I think I'm going to go with Nick Emanwari out of South Carolina.
Yeah,
Minnesota.
Yeah. The crazy thing about Starks is that despite the fact that his movement skills in all the actual individual skills were really bad, but his timing, his GPS timing and all the actual position skills that he did was the fastest among all the secondary.
When reading his profile, though, and it says he can play these positions, I think he's more of a nickel corner, than he is a safety.
Nickel corner, who are you talking about? Starks?
Starks.
Yeah, I would say nickel corner to free safety, depending on the defense.
For sure.
So, Emanwari would be with Metellus, I would assume, right? Or is Harrison Smith still around? I mean, he's older now, right? Didn't he?
They just resigned him to a 1-year deal.
Okay, Harrison. Okay, so that could be an interesting one because you have Metellus there as well, who had a pretty good year, or has had a pretty good few years actually.
I've got Theo Jackson as their starting free safety.
Yeah, Josh Metellus should be the.
Let me look that up.
And it's not because he's from Michigan. It's because I
Sure.
thought he was the starter.
Can you look that up?
Yeah.
Let's see. Vikings depth chart. Okay. So ESPN. All right. Free safety. Yeah, free safety is Theo Jackson.
Yeah, he's considered.
Josh Metellus is the backup nickel.
Yeah, he's considered like the sixth man. Or you know what I mean, like when I say that, like he kind of plays all over, but he had like a bunch of tackles last year. I thought he was a starter for sure.
Um,
Theo Jackson is yet to start an NFL game.
So
that's why
Metellus might have been the starting safety last year.
Yeah, well, and the year before because he had 100 tackles the last 2 years. So that's why I was a little surprised.
ESPN is probably just projecting Theo to be the starter.
They did just extend Theo Jackson 3 years, $9.3 million. So
you don't pay starting safeties only $3 million a year though.
You don't.
That's like backup
you don't.
money.
But I mean, you play a backup that could be a starter, $3 million a year for approval.
Yeah, touche.
And that was last offseason. So
No, they just resigned him to a 3-year deal this year.
it says last offseason on mine, but
But yeah. I mean, I like the pick because I feel the same way. I feel like you just kind of resign Harrison Smith just because he's a longtime guy, and you don't want him to go anywhere. So
Right.
you just have him there. Even with Worry, like I guess kind of like Metellus, you can have him as a 6-man type of guy where you can just put him wherever, because there was some talk about him like he's a mixture between a safety and a linebacker. So you could essentially use him the way that the Browns use Owusu Koromoa. So you could use him in that kind of position, or the way the Giants try to use Isaiah Simmons. So he does have that kind of flexibility just because of his size and playing style. All right, so that was Vikings with Eamon Worry. PFF hates Eamon Worry, apparently. Yeah.
Good old Houston. There are two players here that I am bouncing between, either interior linemen, like someone like Booker, or wide receiver. And if I'm going to pick the wide receiver, it's going to be blatantly obvious on who the wide receiver is going to be. I am going to do receiver. I'm going to do Emeka Egbuka here.
Okay.
My only reason is, for one, Tank Dell's injury was horrific.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'll ever be the same. Obviously, Diggs is gone, so that leaves Nico, and they need someone opposite of Nico.
They traded for the Jaguars receiver.
Oh, yeah, I forget his name. Christian Kirk.
Christian Kirk. There you go.
Yeah. So, and Kirk could be a decent number 3, I guess, if you will. Like, you know,
sure.
But
they also have John Mechie.
Yeah, well, Mechie's a bust in my opinion.
Yeah,
but
well, he had a disease.
Well, I mean,
or an immune deficiency issue,
cancer or something like that.
Cancer. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, but yeah, Emeka Egbuka. I still think Emeka. It just makes sense. Stroud is there. He's there. Like, you know, I know they only played like 1 year together. You know, 2 years to get 1 year together. But still, I mean, it makes sense. You could easily go lineman here too. It wouldn't shock me. Booker is still on the board. You know, if Zabel was on the board, I think for sure they'd be looking at him as well, or Isabel. They'd be looking at him for sure. But yeah, Egbuka is my pick here.
Yeah, I actually have Banks falling here.
Oh, nice.
So that's who I have them taking. And it's because he was there. Like it's one of those where you go, do you want to get receiver, or do you want to get a long-term solution on the offensive line where you just sign and trade for a bunch of guys that are on 1-year deals?
Question:
Like,
do you have Zabel over Banks as
no
top interior lineman? Okay.
No, but if so. The reason why I have Banks there is because I don't have the Seahawks taking an offensive lineman. That's where I have your boy Chet going. Because, you know, they just got rid of their big receiver. So, you know, adding another big receiver would help them. Other than that, if he wasn't there, then I would definitely go offensive line for them. I have the Rams, and let me see, make sure. Oh, you chose Egbuka, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I got to make sure I actually click it. So I have the Rams. All right, so I kind of want to draft Dart here just because this is where I've had him for the longest time. But at the same time, there's a few players that I hate the fact that they're still on the board, especially Derek Harmon. Like, I hate the fact that he's still on the board, but they don't need him. So it's one of those where I'm like, I want to put him there just because he's available. But at the same time, I don't, because they don't need a defensive lineman. Man. So the other guy that I actually have here right now, because I have Dart going a little bit earlier, so they're not able to pick him, is Maxwell Hairston. Let me go to my Rams picture here. There we go. So they've got Darius Williams and Akello Witherspoon as their cornerbacks. So cornerback is kind of a need for them. And they've done a lot of research on Hairston. So part of me wants to say Hairston, but since Dart is here, they do need to focus on their future, with Stafford being 37, 38 years old, wherever he is, and only on a 2-year deal. I think at this point, and not only that, but Dart fits into their system. Like he is a guy that McVay could work with very well and produce well with. So I'm gonna go with Dart just because I feel like that is if he's there, I feel like they would do it just because you need that next guy, and Jimmy Garoppolo is not the next guy.
Well, you kind of picked my guy for me in your description that he's still there for we don't know why. Derek Harmon to the Ravens. They
Good
need
pick.
defensive lineman, and he's still there. So if I'm the Ravens, that's who I'm taking.
Funny enough, that's where I have Walter Nolan. So 100% agree. The defensive line is the area for Baltimore to go.
That was easy.
Yeah, this next one's going to be easy. I'm putting Booker at Detroit. They need to fill. God, Kevin Zeitler is gone now. Graham Glasgow is another year older. Like they've got in Graham Glasgow. I mean, he's okay. He's had a resurgence in Detroit again. You know, as being a above average guard, but he's also well in his 30s as well. I think you have to invest in the interior to keep that running game going and to keep Goff off the ground. Booker makes a lot of sense here. Yeah, I'm going to go with Booker.
And they've proven that they value the offensive line big time.
It.
So even like with Penei Sewell, who was a left tackle, they were like, we're drafting him anyway and putting him at right. Like, we don't care. We just want a good guy. So I do like it. I do think that defensive end is also something that they should look at because other than Hutch, like their other defensive end is pretty crappy. With who was it? Marcus Davenport. So, and Al Qadim Muhammad. That's their defensive ends right now. But I do agree that they value the offensive line enough to where it's definitely an area that they should at least look. All right, so I have the Washington Commanders as a Cowboys fan. You know, I don't want to do this one. But this one is pretty simple for me just because I've had this pick kind of laid out for the last two mock drafts. So Donovan Ezraku, the edge rusher out of Boston College, you know, this is just kind of I would say it's kind of a layup pick just because of the style of defense that they like to run there. And you have Frankie Louvu at edge rusher, and then your other one is Dominique Hampton. I don't even know who that is. But he's the other current starting edge rusher because of everyone else that has left in free agency. So because of that, like they need to address it. Or you can also say, if you don't want him there, you could try him at defensive end, where Dorrance Armstrong is someone that he's good, but you know, he's a replaceable guy. He followed him from Dallas, and that's great and all, but he's a replaceable guy. So either way, I think you're looking at Ezraku there, or you could look at safety because you know you've got Will Harris and then Quan Martin. Neither one of them are guys that I'm screaming, yeah, that's my safety. You know, but as a Cowboys fan, I'm screaming, yeah, that's their safeties. But if I was a Washington fan, I would not be happy. But knowing who their head coach is and knowing what he likes to do on defense, like you have to go edge rusher with them. Like that's their thing. That's what he loves to do. He loves to bring pressure.
So with the Bills, it shows corner and safety as a need. I don't really see safety as a need with Taylor Rapp and DeMar Hamlin.
They're both on 1-year deals.
But if you look
Rapp's on it too.
If you look at the board, Malachi Starks can play multiple positions. He can move to slot corner. He can play free safety. He's shown he can play that. So I'm going to go.
If you're going to do that, Taron Johnson is probably the second or third best nickel corner in the NFL. Just in case you're using the excuse for nickel corner for Malachi Starks because you brought it up earlier, I'm just letting you know that.
I'm looking at Hairston and I'm looking at Amos, and I'm like, those would be two solid picks here too. And I think in a lot of my mocks I have Amos going to the Bills. But I think I'm still going to pick Malachi Starks. I think he's the top talent on the board right now.
Okay. I would definitely say Amos or Hairston, in my opinion, would probably be fit him better. But I don't disagree that I think DeMar Hamlin is replaceable. So,
Right.
Getting a safety, putting in there, I'm all right with it.
The Chiefs, only fitting that I live in the Kansas City area.
I love how that fell when I did that.
So
you didn't get your team, and you got the team that you don't like.
Yeah, exactly. There's two players here that I think the Chiefs could go with, or two positions rather. I could see them going receiver, or I could see them going offensive line, because offensive line is clearly a need. You know what? I'm going to go Josh Simmons here.
Two teams you hate, Chiefs and Ohio State.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the two teams that I hate. That's why I paired them up well. They're two teams I don't like. But there's just glaring holes on the offensive line that the Chiefs need to. They obviously they need to protect Mahomes as well. Mahomes isn't always going to be bulletproof. Eventually these hits and unnecessary runs that he has to make all the time and takes those massive hits. Just like Lamar. Mm-hmm. Eventually it's going to catch up, and he can't afford to do that long term, especially when they're paying him $500 million or whatever, for that insane contract that he has. Yeah, I think Josh Simmons is probably the route that they go here. I could see them even looking round 2, round 3 for linemen, but Simmons or Burden was going to be my pick here. So
it's interesting. Okay,
I like Burden.
I do agree with Simmons, mainly because they don't even have to start in this year because of his injury. Like, they can literally just let him wait, because they did sign Jalen Moore to a 2-year deal to be the left tackle. And that 2-year deal is essentially a 1-year deal that has a second year on it. So next year they can just move off of him, and then you've got your starting left tackle, and he fell to you because he has an injury. Yeah. So, like, he is a top guy, and he could literally end up falling. So it's Tony Romo.
A Tony Romo statue?
Yeah.
I like it.
It's been here the whole time.
I just now noticed it. I've been looking at eyes and faces, sir.
Oh, well, I appreciate it.
You like my guys at my bush right here behind me? It's a nice bush.
Yeah, it's a nice bush.
It's a very nice bush. You probably should trim your bush, sir.
No, I like my bush long like that, man.
You like your bush long and okay, I got you.
More cushion for the pushing,
You're a wilderness explorer. Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
All right, so I had the last pick with the Philadelphia Eagles, and this one is kind of tough, mainly because there are a few areas that they could literally could go, and you actually, both of y'all took two guys that I would have liked to have drafted here, so I can't take what I was thinking of doing. I currently actually have Gray Zabel to the Eagles, just because of the whole Ted McMillan to the Seahawks. It just, the way it fell, like, he was down there, and I was like, I can't let him go in the second round. So I guess I am going to throw a little bit of a curveball. I know they like to go defense, but Moro Ajomo, he might be able to step up next year. So they might have that guy there. So they may not need a defensive lineman near as much as it says. They like edge rushers, but I mean, they brought it. Oh, that was the wrong team. I was looking at. I was about to say they brought in Draymond Jones. It jumped on me. So yeah, they got Bryce Huff and Nolan Smith as their edge rushers, and there's nothing wrong with either one of them. They're pretty good. I wouldn't say great or anything, but they're pretty good at what they do. So I don't know if I want to go edge rusher, but because there's a guy there, and it's going to be I hate doing it. I don't want to do it. I'm going to give the Eagles Luther Burden as their receiver 3.
I could
So
see
you're gonna
them doing
have-
that. That's an Eagles thing to do.
It's
That is
AJ
very
Brown,
Philadelphia.
Devonta Smith, and now Luther Burden.
It'd be impossible to game plan against.
Yeah.
And Saquon Barkley at running back.
Yeah, you have Barkley in the background. You have
Don't forget about Goddard. Dallas Goddard. Come on.
There, he's on the trading block.
Goddard. I'm not surprised that he would be. So I actually think the Eagles, maybe in the second or third, will get a tight end, like a Mason Taylor or like a Harold Fannin or someone like that. Even
I would say Terrence Ferguson. I think Fannin is a third rounder. I think you got for me, I think this and Mason is going to end up going to the Giants, the Jets, and then I have Arroyo. Is it Arroyo? Yeah, it's Arroyo. I have him going to the Seahawks in 2. And
So
then,
you don't think with the Eagles that with Hairston and Amos there, they're not going to look at corner? It's been one of their weakest positions over the last however many
they
years.
double dipped last year, and then they brought in Dory Jackson this year.
Yeah,
So-
you have Cooper DeJean and Quinton Mitchell. You've got both of those guys.
So they were actually really good last year.
Yeah.
So I don't think they would double dip again. I think because they signed a Dory Jackson, he's good enough to be your cornerback too. So as long as you got Kenyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, and then also a Dory Jackson, I think you're fine at cornerback.
One last thing.
You can make the argument for another cornerback because why not?
Yeah.
But
One last thing. Who is a player that we should have mocked in the first round but wasn't?
Let's see. Well, it's already over, so it's not showing me anything. Marion Hampton. He didn't go in the first round.
Yeah.
Let's
James
see.
Pierce for me. Nobody.
Pierce is still there.
I don't think Pierce goes in the first round. He's got a lot of off-field issues, so I don't think he's a first rounder.
I think a couple more offensive linemen might go.
So I also have Hairston in the first round, and then, of course, because of a trade, I have Milroe in the first round also.
What's that dude out of Boston College? I think he could go in the first round too.
He did.
Yeah, Ezriaku.
He did.
Yeah. Oh, you did.
I took him to Washington.
Okay. That's what I was about to say. I was like, that could have been an obvious one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he could end up going higher too. I've heard some people talk about him going a little bit higher than 29. So it's very possible because his current. Let me look at this real quick. His current big board position is 30, and Dane has him at 22. Daniel Jeremiah has him at 25. Let's see, who is this? Mel Kiper has him at 21. So, there are a few guys that actually have him a little ranked, at least, higher than, being drafted at 29. So there's a possibility of him going a little bit higher. But James Pierce is low. Let me look at that. James Pierce he's 29, but Dane has him at 36.
So early second. Second.
Matt Miller has him at 54. Jordan Reed has him at 37. So, the talent wise, he should be a first rounder, but he's got some off-field issues that are keeping him just from not being a very likable person and just not good teammate and stuff.
So you're the Broncos and you took Golden. When you're in the second round, are you looking for a Travion or someone like that, or what are you doing?
Yeah, so I would say it depends on, because the Broncos pick late in the second, and I could see, Henderson and Judkins maybe already gone, possibly.
Right. Yeah.
I could see Caleb Johnson there. I could see RJ Barnes there. RJ kind of makes a lot of sense because,
RJ Harvey?
Or RJ Harvey, I'm sorry, makes a lot of sense.
I'd say him in the third. I don't know about second.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying, he left for some reason.
Did he just?
Yeah. He was like, "Fuck you."
I don't want to hear what you saying about Caleb Johnson.
Yeah, Caleb. I think Caleb is likely the pick because I have a hard time believing that Judkins or Henderson will be there towards the end of the second. I mean, I would love for them to be there towards the end of the second, but
Yeah.
I don't see it. If I was going to have to pick one of them, I think Henderson's the first one of the two, and then Judkins maybe goes later. But in my current mock right now, I actually have the Titans taking Travion Henderson, and then let me look.
I tell you what,
And then I have the Dallas. I actually had the Cowboys taking. I had the Cowboys taking Judkins. Actually,
welcome back.
My bad.
Yeah, I had the Cowboys taking Judkins. Actually, that in my
I like-
mock.
You don't.
That's
So
what I have.
Caleb Johnson doesn't fall that far. I really like Johnson.
Well, Henderson and Judkins, I think, are off the board before Johnson is.
It's very possible.
Yeah, it's likely. So that's why I think Caleb Johnson will be there at Denver. You never know, man. Maybe after Ashton and Hampton, like maybe people aren't going to value the backs because they know it's a deep class, and maybe they do fall. But there are multiple running back needy teams that are going to be picking before Denver in the second.
Right.
That will likely not address it in the first because of how deep the class is. So,
Mhm.
perfect world, I would love to have Henderson. I think he's the better of the two. But I think RJ Harvey or Caleb Johnson will likely be either the second or third round pick at running back.
So currently, Caleb Johnson has a big board position of 52, and Harvey has a big board position of 94.5.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So I like Harvey. I don't know why he's not getting the love that he should be getting. I think he's a really good runner.
I like Harvey too.
Yeah. So I'm just a little surprised that maybe he's not getting as much love there. But I also understand it's where he played too. I don't know. But yeah, I think in a perfect world, Denver goes running back in the second, and then I think likely a tight end in the third. If a tight end isn't there in the first, I think like a Harold Fannin or someone like that could be a third rounder for Denver. I think Denver will still invest relatively early in a tight end because Ingram, like I said, he's still. I love the signing, but they signed him for 3 years. He's north of 30 years old. Like, I still think they have to have some kind of backup position there because, like we were talking about earlier, you can never have too many weapons, right?
Mhm.
So, and I think Knicks needs more of a volume guy, and I think Fannin can be more of a volume type receiver.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's not going to block for you. Like
Yeah.
he's your Mike Gesicki type of tight end. Like
Yeah.
he's going to be a slot tight end. He ain't blocking.
Yeah,
He's going to try to block, but he's not blocking.
he's not blocking any better than a receiver is going to block, But yeah, I think that's the route. But I really think Dallas does invest a second rounder in a running back because I don't think that Genty's not going to be there. You may as well just get that out of your head. He ain't going to be there.
Yeah.
So
I can hope and dream, sir. We're Cowboys fans. That's all we have is hopes and dreams.
It's our year, man.
Yeah, I don't think Genty makes sense to the Cowboys anyways. I don't think he makes that much sense. I think Henderson, or rather Judkins, makes more sense for the value that you're drafting him at rather than Genty.
Cowboys have notoriously drafted one-cut backs that have power in the last 10 to 15 years. So how does Genty not make sense?
Because this isn't the same offense. This isn't the same offensive line. This isn't.
And you're right. You're right there.
Yeah. It's just not the same team, man. Like you're not.
It's the same GM though, and he does the same
That-
stuff every year.
But it's
like,
a different offense. It's a
He doesn't change who he wants. He's like, here's your players. You coach them. If you can't do it, you're fired. That's Jerry Jones.
I understand. I just, like I said, I just don't think Genty's going to be there anyway. So it's all hearsay.
No, it's a moot point. I mean, he's not going to be there, but
there's two teams I would watch out for. If the Raiders pass on him, and maybe this is just a crazy talk here, but if the Bears are there at 10,
it's the Bears.
It's not crazy. It's not crazy at all. He's not getting past the Bears if he gets past the Raiders.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. I just have a hard time believing it.
In the second round, I had the Bears taking Travion Henderson, because they didn't get
in our draft.
Not only that, but they have 2 second-round picks.
In our draft, Marion Hampton makes it to the second round, so the Bears probably take him.
I mean, if he's dropping to the second round, what's to stop the Jaguars from taking him?
I mean, there's nothing to stop them from taking him except they have Etienne still.
Yeah.
He had like one good year, and then that's really about.
And then
he shows flashes.
If Janty does fall to the Bears, and O'Marion doesn't get drafted in the first round, the Raiders are right there to take a running back too.
Exactly.
Which, in my honest opinion, I think Janty does go to the Raiders, but everyone's making a big deal about Carroll's love of running backs. But if you look at it, all the running backs that he's taken have mostly been in the second round. So it's not like he's been heavy on, I love running backs, so I take them in the first. Like he's had one, and it was at the very end of the first round. So it's not like he has this long history of taking first round running backs. It's just he likes taking running backs, and it's mainly in round 2.
And top 10 running backs have not been very common.
Yeah.
Do what?
Top 10 running backs are not very common either.
No.
So
not for a long time. I'm going to give you a quick steaming hot take, and it's going to be likely because it's going to be steaming pile of shit. And I'm going to eat my words, but I'm going to die on the hill that next year the Jaguars draft a quarterback.
Man, they just extended him to like 2029.
New offense, new head coach. He has underperformed like crazy. Like, it was a stupid contract, but Shad
2030. 2030.
Well, Shad Khan and those guys are idiots anyways. Like, we've seen worse contracts. Denver, obviously. Like, the only reason why, I think they signed Lawrence to that extension because they knew what they had with him, but they also knew that it was going to cost more because the quarterback market has just gotten so high at this point that even average quarterbacks are making $20-30 million a year.
It's that Prescott situation.
I'm kind of
good enough. He's good enough that you can't move on from him.
Exactly. That's where I'm at with Lawrence. You don't move on from him. You don't. I mean, if you're going to draft a guy, it's in 2 or 3 years, not next year.
The only reason
if he gets injured and they end up in like the top 5, 100% say, you know what, maybe, because then you're in an area where you might be able to get.
Which they're going to stay top 5 for a few years. I like Lawrence.
Yeah,
I like Lawrence.
I don't. That's a very, very, very hot take.
Yeah, I'd say 3 years. 3 years.
I would say
that's not a hot take.
Yeah. I think next year, no. In 2 to 3 years, yeah.
They're not going to give up on him next year. They're going to try to build around him.
And Shad's not going to let them give up on a guy that he just had them sign until 2030.
Dustin,
I'll take that for sure.
Dustin, look at Mac Jones's stats as a starter and look at Trevor Lawrence's stats as a starter, and you tell me if Trevor Lawrence deserves to get paid what he gets paid.
Okay, so you also have to factor in what he had as a rookie.
I understand, but
you have to use nuance whenever you look at this. You can't just look at the stats and go, "See, they're the same guy."
Because Dak Prescott's the same guy.
He had a terrible head coach. The offense was not good. Like, he struggled as a rookie because there was just nothing good. And then they brought in a defensive head coach that didn't really help that much. They brought in some guys, but it wasn't until last year where he finally got a true receiver that was actually legitimately good.
Everybody gave up on Sam Darnold too.
But Mac Jones didn't have anyone as a rookie, but he had a smarter head coach and offensive coordinator because
I think BB towards the end was dog shit. Like, I really don't think, and I think he's going to be dog shit at North Carolina. Like, I just don't think Bill Belichick was that good his last few years.
No. He's a defensive guy though, but he's smart. He knows how to do things.
Yeah. I mean,
he puts the right people in place. Like, what was offensive coordinator's name? Former Broncos head coach.
What's his name? Not Kubiak.
No.
The younger guy.
The guy that got 2 different head coaching jobs and sucked at both of them.
Josh McDaniels.
Josh McDaniels.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
Like, he's a great offensive coordinator, and he made Mac Jones look extremely good. And then when he left again, Mac Jones went right down the crapper.
Yeah.
So, like, that's the difference in having a good offensive coordinator or head coach and playing in Jacksonville where you didn't have either one. And you just so when you look at the stats, you do have to use a little bit of nuance and understanding that he just didn't have crap for 2 years.
That's fair.
And now that he's finally got something, he's just had multiple years of just crap. So it's kind of, you remember the crap instead of going, now that he's finally got something, like he's actually kind of doing kind of good.
Yeah.
Like, if they can actually help him, like they've got he can be a legitimate quarterback.
I got to drop. My phone's at 3%, guys.
Okay.
See you later.
I just think that they're in a situation where he's good enough that they can't get rid of him. It's very much the Dak Prescott. Like, Dak is not great. He's good. But the contract you don't like. But at the same time, you're going, you can't replace him. Like, if you end up trading him and then you get this guy that's in the first round and all of a sudden they're not good, you just made a terrible decision.
Well, the only way you replace them is if you start over, is if you're rebuilding.
Yeah.
The Cowboys have never been a team to admit that they're going to rebuild.
It's kind of like the Saints.
Yeah,
they just refuse to admit it. Trade back.
Yeah.
You have not traded back in 19 seasons. And this is what blew my mind. At any point in the draft, not just the first round, at any point in the draft, they have never traded back in 18 seasons.
That's ridiculous.
If they do it this year, it'll be 19.
That's crazy.
Never traded back. 1 through 7. They have traded up 29 times. And now they're in a position where they have holes everywhere. Like, this is the year that you go, hey, we got to trade back. Like, we got to find a partner so we can add some people on our team because we have a ton of holes and we suck.
Like, that's something. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens there. But man, I'm gonna go eat some dinner now. So
all right, man.
Yeah. Hey, this was a good one. Yeah. Are you gonna
100%.
post this? I assume.
Yeah. I'm gonna edit it and put some pictures of the player and try to put some pictures of the players on it whenever we pick, so that it shows up of who we're picking. And then at the end, I'll have the picture of the draft.
I'm looking at your mock now, and I realize that there are a few picks that I picked that you picked the same exact player. So,
I mean, I have a completely different one now.
Oh,
that I've reworked. So there's probably some differences now.
Gotcha. All right, well, share it with us whenever you're ready.